Do it.
Welcome to Business Talk, our weekly University of Rio Grande, Ohio State University South Center's podcast show. We are here at the University of Rio Grande TV studio. Not only are we doing live internet radio through Blog Talk Radio, but we're also live on the Jackson Educational Access Channel and Channel 17 University of Rio Grande TV. Our podcasts are archived and placed on YouTube for viewing and listening again. Our mission is simple: to promote the University of Rio Grande and its diverse educational programs, promote the Ohio State University South Centers and its many business technology programs, promote small business and its support organizations, and finally promote Southern Ohio, a great place to live, learn, and enjoy life to the fullest. Our co-host returning back is Jason Winters, Director of the Center for Small Business Entrepreneurship, and Mike Thompson, Instructional Design and Media Services Director, both with the University of Rio Grande. We also have on cameraman today Patrick Dengel, Business Development Specialist, and Kimberly Roush, Program Assistant, both with the University of Ohio State University South Centers. And we have myself, MBA student Nate Walzer, as co-host. This week for our guest, we'll have Dr. Dan Bernstein, Program Director with Hospitality Management here. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
It's nice to have you here on the show. Would you like to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. I just started here at University of Rio Grande in July. Previous to that, for the last 8 years, I was with the Hospitality Management Program at Seton Hill University in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. I previously taught at such institutions as St. John's University, New York, Appalachian State, Eastern Michigan University, University of Southern Mississippi. Also worked in industry. I was a restaurant manager. I've been I've been a marketing director for a hotel. I was a hotel manager as well. And so I've done quite a few different things also. As far as my educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in English from Delphi University, New York, an MBA in Hospitality Administration, University of New Haven, and doctorate in education, University of South Dakota. Just my interest in restaurants really started. My parents owned a supper club type restaurant in New York area where I grew up, and that really was my first interest in working there as a teenager. I graduated with a degree in English, and then I said, okay, what do I do with that now? So I said, I was interested in hospitality, so I kind of got into that I decided to go for an MBA in Hospitality Administration, which I did at University of New Haven, and from that I kind of started working in Arizona in the hotel industry, but was contacted by a local community college about working teaching it was actually on an Indian Native American reservation. And that was my first teaching experience in Arizona, and so I kind of really just started enjoying the educational aspect. So I've kind of gone back to educational and the industry aspect as well.
Really sounds like you've been all over the board in the restaurant industry and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What's been the most enjoyable part of it for you? Well,
I think the most enjoyable part is you have to enjoy pleasing customers, and it's similar to education itself. I mean, we're a service-oriented industry, just like education is, and the satisfaction you get from people who tell you that what a wonderful meal it was. I mean, I've had a small child one time. We made a grilled cheese sandwich, and they said it changed their life. I was like, wow, that's powerful. So wow. So I thought, wow, those are the type of things that people enjoy. The comments when people give you positive feedback. People tell you, they come miles out of their way just to eat at your restaurant. That's pleasing to hear things like that.
So Daniel, you came to the University of Rio Grande to be director over the new Hospitality Management Program. Right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that program got started?
Well, Bob Evans Corporation were looking to basically move into the 21st century. They wanted to have managers who had more of a technical expertise, and that included a college degree. Back in the past, pretty much a lot of managers, well, most of the chain restaurants, the managers, they worked their way up. They had a high school diploma. Maybe 10 years later, they'd become a manager if they showed some promise. So basically, Bob Evans wanted to create a base of managers with college degrees. So that's really where this program emanated from. Basically, a joint venture with University of Rio Grande to create this hospitality management program.
So how does the program itself differ from traditional management?
Well, first of all, the program itself, only Bob Evans employees can enter this program. That's obviously different from any program that I'm familiar with. So and basically they have to continue working at Bob Evans while they're in the program also, and the fact also from a financial standpoint that they first 2 years they cover the tuition costs. That's definitely different from most hospitality management programs.
So is this a training program for Bob Evans restaurants?
No, I would not. No, because I've gone through training programs, and you don't. When you go through a training program through restaurants, you basically learn things like different recipes. You learn about serving techniques. It's not. It's very applied. So this is far more theoretical. So absolutely, it's not. I mean, you can look at his training, but it's far more theoretical as far as training.
So it's strictly for Bob Evans, but theoretically they're getting trained to work at any restaurant.
Because they have to learn. Well, we hope they work at Bob Evans restaurants, of course. But from to say being a manager is not just about making sure someone gets their dinner served on time or what they ordered. It's also about dealing with employees, dealing with customers, psychological issues, human resource issues, customer service issues. These are all any manager-related issues, being up to date on new laws, relation to I-9 laws and such. You need to know what's going on with these things, and basically, you're not going to get all that from just going through some training program.
Do you do training on, like, I don't know if we're going to call it training, but classes on maybe the science of a restaurant, how they make a supermarket so you buy more, I
mean, how do they get people to be like you're talking things like marketing techniques?
Maybe upselling,
right,
or making it a good environment.
Well, I have a customer service class, and we're going to have a marketing class. We're going to learn things like upselling, top-down approach, all this. Those are all things that we're going to learn. Suggestive selling as well. I mean, those are easy things that they do at all restaurants. My first training program I went through was many years ago in Columbus, Ohio, with Ponderosa restaurants. It was probably not one of the more memorable experiences of mine. But I went through that training program. I mean, we learned things such as basically we'd have specials during the week, and as a little guideline, generally speaking, a lot of restaurants you shouldn't order the specials.
You should not?
Should not, because usually restaurants, they call that garbage time. That's basically most restaurants. That's the stuff they want to get rid of.
Yeah, this meat's going to go bad
in 2
days.
Well, in certain restaurants, for example, I'm not saying they still do this, of course, but I'm saying at Ponderosa, they would have a ribeye. They had something called FIFO, first in, first out rotation. Basically, rotate for 3 days. So if meat came in Monday, they had to get rid of it by Thursday. So Thursday they would put a special out, but they wouldn't necessarily lower the price, but they throw in something like a free dessert with it. Mm-hmm. So that would be an inducement to customers to get. So you learn techniques like that.
How about restaurant layout?
Well, yeah, you lay on design is something you learn. I mean, of course, there's people at the corporate level, such as Bob, they know how they want to lay out particular restaurants to make it more attractive for restaurants. Also, there's flow issues as well. You want to make it convenient. The early restaurants, the early 1900s, when restaurants were first created, it was thought that people should not smell the food that's cooking. That was bad. So most kitchens were actually on different floors than the actual dining room. So servers had to go up and down stairs with large trays delivering food. That's something most servers would not want to do today also.
That's why they have all this, I don't know, the smokestack or whatever you want to call it outside of like Burger King. It's like, let's pump that out there and make the people come.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's basic. So, yeah, there's a layout design concept as far as flow and basically making it service more simple as well. A lot of the Bob Evans have fairly open, so it's easy just to serve as well.
And how about efficiency of the kitchen and how to get orders turned around?
Well, the thing is, any restaurant chain has a book.
They already did that.
They have a book, and you have to follow the book. Basically, they don't want you to deviate from the recipe. So if you say, I think this meatloaf would taste better without mushrooms, you'd say, no, you can't do that. Because basically, that's the selling point of these chain type restaurants, is that you want people who are going to know, I come back there, I feel comfortable. I go back there again. And I love the meatloaf, and I come back. I'm going to a different restaurant. I'm the same chain. I'm having the same thing. It tastes the same. People look for that. Yeah.
So getting back to the hospitality management program, I'm assuming that the first 2 years are traditional college courses?
Well, there are traditional college courses but they will be taking some class. I know within the first year in the spring they'll be taking the introductory class as well. Also, they'll be taking about 3 classes during the first 2 years. So there will be some hospitality classes.
Okay, so we have basically a core,
Right?
general education.
Right.
We have a
Business
core
core,
of business, and we have a core of hospitality.
Right, that's
so it's
correct.
really 3 different sections.
Right.
That they're getting a well-rounded education.
Absolutely, yes.
So, what are those individual hospitality courses?
Well, for example, no particular. There's an introductory class that we're offering. I mean, I try to do not necessarily standard. There's a so-called standard hospitality courses you would see in a hospitality program. We have some of those. We have a hospitality marketing class, customer service class. We have one class I did that was new that I've never taught before, but it's kind of a trending class as a class on consumer behavior in hospitality industry. We have that as well. We have a hospitality law class, a food and beverage cost control class as well. So we have quite a few different classes, also plus into the internship component as well.
So, talk about the internship component. Is that like a training program?
Well, it's not. It's just that basically, assuming someone works at, say, Bob Evans is an hourly employee, and let's say they work as a server, they will get the opportunity to do other positions. There'll be 2 internships. The other one is more of is trying different areas of, because they will need to know the different areas of the restaurant as far as working. The second will be more of a simulation of a management training. Will actually work with the manager as far as simulating, learning what a manager is all about, what a manager does.
So the people who've applied for this program, are they servers or cooks or people who are want to be managers, or is it anybody, or is it very specific to get into?
There are a few people actually who are assistant managers. There are a few in the program, but generally speaking, they're people who are hourly employees who aspire to something greater. They want to be managers.
Mm-hmm.
So how many students do you have in the program now?
Right now we have 21 students in the program.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's just really great growth potential. I could see this as a possibility that if it works well here, they may want to do it to other schools as well. I think there's a great potential for this program. So this is basically, we're going to see how this is, I guess, the testing site, should we say? Yeah, we're going to see how it works out. Yeah.
Seems like a really great opportunity, because you were mentioning before how just in Columbus alone there's 65 Bob Evans just in that small area.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be really good to apply this to somewhere like Ohio State where it's in that area.
Though I will tell you, generally speaking, I would see this type of program really working in a private institution, because I know I've worked in public institutions. If I want to change the name of a class, it takes me 2 years. I'd have to go through 10 committees. So I would tell you from a standpoint, I mean, I worked on the curriculum here, and yes, it took me some months to process, but I could tell you if it was at a public university, it would probably take you a couple of years. So I think the private institutions have more of a chance to be more entrepreneurial, which I think is a good selling point to other businesses who of course think of themselves as entrepreneurial also. So I think it's a good link together between schools such as the University of Rio Grande and Bob Evans.
So right now the students in the program are in the southeastern Ohio area. What's the future for this program? Are we going to expand and deliver this in Columbus and outside of the area?
Well, that's something they've talked about. They're opening their new corporate office in North Columbus, and they've talked about eventually I would say in the next 2 years, I think they were talking about they would like to see some courses offered in Columbus as well. So I think that's obviously with that many restaurants, that'd be an excellent opportunity as well. Also, yeah, I think this could work in different locations within Ohio also.
And do you see this being opened up to different people other than Bob Evans?
Well, at this point,
I know when it's beginning, it's
right.
Just Bob Evans.
I mean, who knows? I mean, possibly yes. I mean, if I assume there was that type of interest, you could see it. But right now, I guess there's this kind of guidelines related to who supported the program.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that would be.
Because right now the students are coming from Bob Evans, and it's kind of subsidized by Bob Evans.
Right.
Right.
Right. So I mean, I think that would be from a. We'd have to see logistically how that could work. Right.
Right.
I would say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Obviously, Bob Evans isn't going to train somebody from Ponderosa.
Yeah, I don't think they want to do that. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Or
yeah,
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think they want to do that. Yeah. Yeah. They're going to subsidize them for that.
Yeah.
You don't subsidize your competitors. Yes. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
So, the students that are coming into the program now, do they have an open variety of classes to take, or are they going through as a group? How's the mechanics of the program work?
They go together as a group, which I think is kind of nice. It's a cohort, and I think it's kind of nice because they really get to know each other well. I mean, some of them do know each other, but they get to know each other well. They work together as a group. I know for myself, when I've been in programs, like when I was in an MBA program where we basically took the same classes, it was kind of nice to do that also. It's almost like a sense of collegiality there also. Yeah, so they do this. So there is in a set program where they take set classes. Basically, their 4-year program is basically, they know what they need to take. And I think that they're offering flexibility. We talked about sort of scheduling flexibilities to work around their work schedule, which is absolutely a concern.
So how do you do that? If these students are working full time for Bob Evans, how do you schedule a program for them?
Well, obviously, of course, there's no classes, but you wouldn't want to schedule classes Saturday or Sunday morning because that's very busy. But so you'd want to schedule on a day such as Monday, which is generally speaking a slower day. Mondays, Tuesdays, at the beginning, Monday and Tuesday usually are the slowest days of the week for a restaurant. So that's usually would be a good days to look at. You basically you want to accommodate. You have to accommodate a lot of people. You want to accommodate. I'm sure. Bob Evans will be very accommodating because they want this program to happen. But so I'm sure they will help students with their scheduling needs. But for students also, it's a balancing act. They got to balance their classes that they're taking. They have to balance the work that they're doing. Some may have families. Yeah, so it's hopefully we can help them with that.
I know many of our courses here on campus are night courses. We also have 8-week courses, 8-week formats. We have a combination of online and hybrid. What are we using in this program for their convenience?
Generally speaking, we're using the 8-week format, and the way it's going to work, if we're offering classes, we're probably going to be offering something such as a hybrid type format. I'm a strong proponent that these classes need to be taught. They need some in-person contact. Because I think from that standpoint, I would really expect that. But again, we have to be flexible to help accommodate their needs. So I think the hybrid kind of works nicely because it addresses both issues as far as convenience and also the actual in-class time.
But you're not a purely book-taught guy. You have put into practice what you're teaching.
Yeah. Yes. I'm old enough to have experience. Yes, right. Unfortunately, yes. But I have. I apply that in all my classes. I apply. I've been a hotel manager. I've been a business owner. I've been a business manager. I've done all that. Yeah. So I do apply that to that. That's what students find the most interesting. You have some days, some schools you may find professors who go right out of graduate school to teaching, and then they'll say, "Oh, I read this in a book." They don't find that. And students find what you did. That's what they're going to find the most interesting. To me, how can you teach restaurant management if you've never managed a restaurant? Really, how could you? It's not so much you're going to get out of books. There's so many things you get. Things that happen that you won't read about in books.
Seems like they want those real life experiences, and you can give them that because you yourself said you owned a restaurant.
Right, I think don't all students want that. I understand. It depends on what the discipline is. Obviously, you couldn't. Be hard to do that with history unless you're really old. But like 400 years old.
Like Pat.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So otherwise, but depend. But obviously, in my discipline, there's no excuse that I can't have that kind of experience when I have that.
What's the most challenging thing about owning a restaurant?
It's just. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility. It's the hours. If you open, let's say you open
having kids, basically.
That's responsibility in itself. But the thing is, let's say you open a store that's like a book. You sell books. Your store opens at 9 o'clock. You can go there at 8:45, and you can open your. You open a restaurant that opens at 8 o'clock. You have to be there at 6, because you have to prepare. You can't just walk in. People walk in the door. They say, "Oh, we have to start making things." They expect things right there. So you have to. The hours. If you see a restaurant that's open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., you're there from more like 6 to 11. So we're tremendous.
Now, is that manager there all that?
A manager has to be there also. Yeah.
The entire time.
Yeah, Well, my wife and I ran our restaurant, and we took turns as far as being in charge of the restaurant. I mean, where I had my restaurant was in Flagstaff, Arizona. We were very fortunate because it's an area that had very low unemployment. So we really, I mean, my cook was a former restaurant manager. My cashier was a former restaurant owner. I mean, so we had really experienced people who could fill in and sometimes did also. Yeah.
How about the hotel management part of it? How's that different?
Well, the thing with the hotel is what makes you're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your job is never finished. I could stay there 24 hours a day and find something to do. But so finally, I'd be working to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. My wife would call me and say, "When you come up for dinner?" And I'd say, "Okay, you need to do that." But,
I'll shoot for this time.
Yeah, right. But then again,
an
older manager once told me he set his alarm clock on his desk for 6 o'clock. And basically, 6 p.m., even if he was in the middle of something, when it went off, he went, "It'll be there tomorrow." He just left, and it was. So you didn't.
I wasn't sure if it was the unruly guests that you had to clean up.
Oh, well,
after,
there's
always that.
I mean,
college students.
Well, I'll tell you. You want to hear?
Crazy.
I'll tell you. I worked for a hotel chain called In Suites. One of their other hotels. I worked at a property in Scottsdale, Arizona. There was a property they had in Tempe, Arizona, which is nearby. There was a fellow they had a free happy hour at the hotel. This one fellow had too much to drink. In the middle of happy hour, he was standing in the pool. He just dropped dead right in the pool. And then 6 hours later, his sister calls up the hotel and says, "Considering my brother died, can we have our money back?"
Whoa.
So that was so I thought, so you run into many strange things like that also. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody stays home anymore, or really eats at home, because it used to be that you could travel across country and say, "We're going to pull over here and find a room." Every time I've tried to do that, it's all been booked up.
Yeah, well, of course, a lot of it. But the thing is, a lot of times, when do people travel? During holidays, when other people travel too. Yeah, you want to travel cross country in January, you'll find hotel rooms. Yeah. But it's because you say, "Oh, I went Labor Day weekend, I couldn't find." Well, a lot of people are traveling Labor Day weekend. I mean, hotels take advantage of that. There was a hotel out in eastern Long Island, a nice area near the Hamptons, but still it was a Motel 6. They were charging Labor Day weekend $500 a night for Motel 6.
Wow.
So
wow,
it's just ridiculous. Yeah. So the thing is, these days, why not make a reservation and go to a hotel? I mean, it's not exciting just to go from one hotel to another to find a room. There's really no excuse not to make reservations.
Dan, I just switched for a minute with Jason.
You do look different. I kind of noticed that. Yeah.
Jason, you've aged a bit.
Yeah.
It's a long show.
We have a number of clients. I would venture to say 1 out of every 10 clients that come to see us at the Small Business Development Center either want to start a coffee shop, an internet cafe, or a restaurant.
Sure.
And one of the things that we try to do is we try not to in any way dash their hopes. But on the same token, we have to be realistic about it too. And so we begin the education process. What would you recommend to people who are interested in a restaurant or interested in what are some things they should do first?
My first recommendation would be not to do it, probably. But it's just I say people ask me, I have experience running a nonprofit. I said, I owned a restaurant. That's my only. But of course, wasn't intended. No, it depends. I mean, first of all, you have to have a tremendous amount of capital. I mean, basically, it's kind of, you look at a 2-to-1 formula. So if you calculate you need $200,000 to open a restaurant, you better have $400,000 because people are not going to walk in the door. I mean, why restaurants fail is pretty logical. Why they fail? They fail because of things like their food is not good, they have the wrong concept, they have poor service, problems with the atmosphere, they don't market. They didn't market properly. It's
location.
Location, absolutely. Yeah. So they just things that don't. It's not shocking why they want to do that. But why do people want to open a restaurant? Everybody eats, right? So everybody can relate to that. Most people like good food. Say, you're such a good cook. You should open a restaurant.
And people say, "Oh, I'm a good cook. I'm a chef."
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not the same. Yeah, but the thing is, people think, people all the time, you're such a good cook, you show up at a restaurant. You're not cooking for 100 people for money. You're cooking for your family of 5 or 6. It's a big difference as well. So yes, that's
and family members would never rag on their
my
people.
family would, but that's yeah, they would say, yeah. But so that's. I mean, I understand why people want to do that, but it's really challenging as to why. So what do you tell them?
The first thing that I sort of sit down with is looking at the cash flows, how expensive it can really be.
Right.
People do not really understand about the amount of time, and when you hire one individual. The owner, of course, gets to work free many hundreds of hours per month. But when we hire someone, they want to be paid for every hour that they're there, and so that becomes very expensive. So we sit down and we look at the employees, and we look at the expenses, and we look at the cost of goods.
Do you look at the concept ever, like if it's a good fit? Do you look at things such as that?
It depends. First of all, most individuals are trying to shy away from franchises because
of course, it's too
costs
expensive.
too much.
Oh, yes.
And second of all, they have this idea that they're going to be making lots of money, and so helping them to understand what the cost is and the amount of time. Had a lady, she had been a cook most of her life. She wanted to open up a small little shop, and I asked her how much she was worth an hour, and she said $7. And usually what I do is I sort of, whatever you get paid, you're worth at least twice that amount. And
I would agree with that formula.
Yep. And her limitations on the financial end was a concern.
Well, the thing is that she's making $7 an hour. How she can even? I mean, most people when they do that, they start a restaurant, they should pay themselves a salary.
I agree.
Yeah, they need to do that. But the concept is a big thing. If I came to you and said, I want to open I think the Ethiopian restaurant in Gallipolis would be just awesome. Would you tell me, wow, I don't think they had that here. I guess it must be a great idea, right? Yeah.
Well, there's a reason.
Is there a good way to get into the restaurant industry? Say you don't want to open something up, you want to start out as busboy, you want to, and then once you work your way through that, get educated within the restaurant, then you might open your own.
Well, the thing is also the best thing to do is this kind of like my definition. What's a good entrepreneur? Someone gets rich off of other people's money. Yeah. So I would recommend that you have some expertise. You work with people who have money who may not have the expertise. You do a joint venture where you can run that restaurant. Basically, you can open a restaurant together also, where so they can share that also.
Dan, I want you to know that both Jason and I. We were one day taking a small entrepreneurial walk, and we said, if there was a restaurant we would like to open up, what would we open up? And both Jason and I looked at each other and we said White Castles.
They'd probably do really well.
Wait, is that what you're?
Yeah, White Castles.
Yeah. No, people criticize the White Castle. I've always liked it. Yeah. Tell you a story about White Castle. When I was living in Arizona, there weren't any White Castles there. They had a White Castle festival. People waited over 2 hours for a hamburger but of course they weren't buying
for the
hamburgers.
little sliders.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Well,
they weren't buying hamburgers. They're buying memories.
Right.
Yes. Right. Well, one of the things that we found out, you have to own a White Castle.
With a whole family there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
To build or
you need to marry somebody in their family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. No, I love their concept. I always wonder why there have been companies that there's a place down south, chain called Crystals, which is basically a copy of White Castle. So yeah, so it makes you wonder why people don't do that.
They were the first ones to start the bun to catch the grease.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love their concept.
Dan, we have
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Obviously,
Go on. Sorry.
what did we miss? What do you want to leave the listening audience with?
I just want to say, I think this is a great opportunity for students. I think about my last institution. I talked to students who graduated. I had one student had owed over $100,000 in student loans, and they still can't find jobs. So to me, what a tremendous opportunity for students, where they can be in a financial situation where they're not financially burdened, where there's opportunity to find employment. That's why you're going to school. You'll get something out of it.
Very good advice. Dan, I want to thank you very much for coming here to the University of Rio Grande and imparting a lot of wisdom to individuals that work with Bob Evans, and then eventually future individuals. We hope you have a lot of success.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jason. Actually, I'm Pat.
I'm Patrick.
You're Patrick?
Wait, who should I be?
I'm Mike.
I'll be Mike.
Okay.
You can be.
Thank you for listening. Have a great evening.